Hi, welcome to this video. We're going to be talking about the area of a circle and also the circumference of a circle, and then how those measurements are related to their dimensions. So just a quick vocab reminder. The diameter is the distance across a circle going through its center point. The radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle or to the edge of the circle, essentially halfway across the circle. The circumference of the circle is the distance around the circle, and you can calculate that by multiplying the diameter, the distance across, times pi. And then the area of a circle is the same as any other shape. The area is the number of square units it takes to cover. So in the case of a circle, the area is found by finding the number of radius squares it takes to cover. Oh, like that. Boom. Okay. And so you would do that by multiplying pi times a radius square. So it takes about 3.14 radius squares to cover a circle. And so that's how you find that, pi times radius squared. So what we're going to be doing is jumping between the circumference and area. So rather than in a problem them telling you what the radius is or what the diameter is, they're going to give you either the circumference or the area, and then you're going to find the other measurement. So a little different. So here is a problem from the Envision textbook, and it's an example problem, so it's probably worked out in the textbook, but we're going to work that out together here. Nico needs new grass and a circular pen for his chickens. The pen is 352 feet of fencing, so what that means is the fence goes around. So they're telling us how the distance around the circle, so that means they must be telling us the circumference, because that's how much fencing that goes around it. And they're asking us to find the area. Well, we know that area is calculated by multiplying pi times the radius squared. But 352 is not the radius. 352 feet is the amount of feet that's all the way around. So that doesn't really tell us the radius that we need to be able to calculate this area. So we're going to need to work backwards to be able to get the radius so we can find the area. So what do I know? I know the circumference, and I want to know the area. So I know the circumference is 352 feet. So I'm going to fill that in here, 352 feet, under my circumference formula. I know that pi is approximately 3.14. I do not know the diameter, so I'm going to leave that there. Now, when I fill in the things that I know, I can see that I have an equation. And I do know how to solve equations. To solve equations, I do the opposite to solve. So this says 3.14 times d. So to solve it, I'm going to do the opposite of multiply, and I'm going to divide. And when I divide both of these sides by 3.14, that's going to give me an approximation for the diameter of the circle. So let's try that. So when I divided, I got 112.1019 and a bunch of numbers. So I'm going to estimate that to be about 112.10. So that would mean the diameter, the distance all the way across, is about 112.10 feet. Now I'm trying to find the area. If I look at my area formula, I'm supposed to use the radius. So I still don't know the radius yet. I only know the diameter. But I do know that a radius is half of a diameter. So I'm going to take the number I have for the diameter, and I'm going to take half of it. And I get 56.05. So now that I have the radius and I know that this is about 56.05 feet. Now I can use that to find the area. So I have the area is about 9,864.63 feet squared. Now it's possible that you did all the right math, and then when you got to right about here, 4.63, then maybe your answer was slightly different, because it depends on where we round and how exact we get. So I think we can say it should be about 9,865 feet squared, and most of us can agree on that. So there's an example problem. Why don't you go ahead and try this one then? It's the same situation, just a different number. Now the circular pen is 396 feet of fencing. And then we pause, and then you can check your answer. Okay, first thing I want to notice is I could use a different formula for circumference if I wanted. Circumference equals pi times the diameter, but it also equals 2 times pi times the radius, since 2 radii equal a diameter. So if I use this formula instead, I can then, when I substitute my numbers in, I substitute in 396 for the circumference and 3.14 for pi. I simplified first and said that I'm multiplying the radius times 6.28, and that's the number I divided by. So I have the radius as about 63.06. Now you may have found the diameter first, which was probably about 126, and then you had to divide it by 2 to find the radius. Now that I have the radius, I'm going to use that to find the area. So I have the area is about 12,486, give or take, feet squared. So again, if right here, if your numbers are slightly different than mine, but you think you did the right math, it's possible that we just rounded differently. So you probably have about 12,500 square feet, because all of this is really just an estimation anyway. So how'd you do? Hopefully you were able to get that one. So from here, we're going to do a couple from page 452, numbers 4 and 5, tie right in nicely with what we're talking about. Did I say 4 or 5? I meant 5 and 6. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5, it says, what is the radius? So they're asking us for the radius of a circle with the area of 28.26 square feet. So to do that, I'm going to write what I know. I know that the area equals pi r squared, or pi times radius times radius. And then I'm going to fill in the numbers that I know, just like I would if I was using the formula. But this time, the area is what I know rather than the radius. So I put that over there. I know pi is about 3.14, but I don't know the radius. So I leave that as radius squared. I have an equation. I know I have a squared here, don't worry about that yet. I'm multiplying by 3.14, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3.14. So let's do that. See what we get. And the answer I had was 9. So 9 equals r squared. So I don't have to know too much about, square root or squares to know that what number squared is 9. Well, that's 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. So that means the radius must be 3. But if I'm not as savvy with that, and maybe I didn't know that, just like in anything else, in math, you have to be able to undo to solve. And so how you would undo squared is that's when we use the square root symbol. And so you have a square root symbol on most calculators, and you would take the square root of 9, which is 3. So the radius is 3. So now let's look at number 6. What is the area of a circle with circumference 25.12 meters? This is just like the ones that we did. So they're telling you the circumference, 25.12, and they're asking you to find the area. So we write in all the things that we know. We know that circumference equals pi times diameter, or 2 pi r. And we know that area equals pi r squared. So we're going to work backwards to find the diameter and the radius, and then we're going to use that to find the area. So why don't you pause this now and try that one. So I worked backwards by dividing the circumference by pi, 3.14, which meant that the diameter was 8. So 8 divided by 2 gives me the radius, because remember, a radius is half a diameter. So that means the radius is 4. So I use that number 4 in the formula, and I substitute in for the radius. And so I did 3.14 times 4 squared, which gave me 50.24 square meters. So after you've watched this, go ahead and try the challenge area practice, and good luck. Thanks for watching.